Derogatory words such as whore, hooker are used for sex workers. In spite of all negativity, they survive and exist globally. While some countries have legalized sex work, but respectability is still a far cry. Laws in place to protect them are insufficient to pull them out of being marginalized. Sex work is a transactional relationship. Money for sex can be classified as a service, but many are using it for basic survival. In India, sex work isn't a criminal offense until it's not done in a public place. There are 1.2 million sex workers in India. It has its roots in ancient Indian society. The Devadasi tradition is one such example. Devadasi refers to a woman who is considered to be given in marriage to goddess Yalma as a servant of the goddess. A large chunk of the population feeds itself from sex trade. Therefore, it becomes imperative to put an end to its stigmatization. The taboo around prostitution prevents many workers from having adequate health checkups. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the World Health Organization are advocating for bigger protection of sex workers. Sex workers experience physical violence among other human rights violations. In cities like London, Canberra, and Tokyo, street-based sex workers are harassed, arrested, and sometimes beaten for appearing as if selling sex. Their children are often bullied and experience social exclusion. There is a dire need to bring a shift in how we perceive the profession. Laws have to be made more inclusive. Creating awareness through education is a start. Krishangi Sinha, Democracy News Live, New Delhi.
Good evening and welcome to Democracy News Live's Show It Matters. Exchanging money for sex. The immorality associated with it is a social construct. Administrations and governments make laws, but in almost every city of the world, sex work happens. It in fact becomes an epicenter of abuse of young children and a place for the police to run parallel economies. Sex work worldwide continues to haunt the lives of millions across the modern world. The sex workers need to be treated as workers and humans. And the trade of sex needs to lose its current ostracization from society. I think that's the premise we are looking at today as we discuss this, because there are so many people who are abused because it is considered illegal, and then comes all the associated issues with it: medical, health, beyond that, just control on their bodies, ability to ask for the price that they want for what they do. It's not stopping. Nobody's stopping it. There are all these places where people go buy sex across the world. Then how come that you would let that happen, but then you would call it illegal and run all your illegal trade and all the money that you make as representatives of the government? And I think that's what needs to change. I'm reminded of the quote by O'Donnell and Davidson. When there is violence, it is mostly the prostitute's fault. If I'm satisfied with what I am buying, then why should I be violent? I will be violent when I'm cheated, when I am offered a substandard service. Sometimes violence is because the prostitute wants the client to use a condom. They force it on the client. He will naturally be disgruntled and there'll be altercations. Even looking at a statement like that, makes you think many, many times over, well, what kind of a world we live in when women who are having to sell their body to survive most of the times, it's not always though, they don't have control on how they will interact with the man. If there were laws around it, if there was a system around it, if it was legal, possibly we'll have a better world, a safer world to get by. Anyways, I'm joined by a very esteemed panel today. Let me introduce first Roma Devaprata. Roma is the founder and managing trustee of RBC Trust and president of STOP. I've worked with Roma ma'am many, many years. We've gone out on multiple raids, rescued many, many girls, and she obviously runs a very massive program around rehabilitation. Also joining me is a young documentary filmmaker, Arpita. She's going to talk in the beginning a little bit about the documentary she produced as a project, and then joined by Khushbu Jain. Khushbu Jain is a practicing advocate at the Supreme Court of India. Her area of expertise is litigation practice pertaining to business, corporate, and crime. She's going to weigh in terms of the legality around it. Then later in the show, Vasundhara Pandey will be joining us. Vasundhara is a menstrual health educator and has worked closely with sex workers towards improving their medical facilities and social conditions. So let me start by asking Roma ma'am. Roma ma'am, you've seen the condition the sex workers live in. Can you begin to describe how sad it is for many of these workers and the conditions they live in?
Rohit, I'm very happy that I have got the chance to talk to you and let the people know that what I am working for so long. Uh, I am most probably I am not the fittest person to talk to start the session because of the reason that I have worked for rescuing the trafficked children from different brothels of India, mainly in Delhi. And the people used to think that I am totally against sex workers. Once I was attacked by them, saying that they're earning, they're living, they have got every right to have their livelihood option, and so I am interacting. I am harassing them. Let me clarify it. We like some of the anti human trafficking activists. I rescued a lot of people from the brothels and from different difficult situations. And Rohit, you know some of the activities we have done already. Yes, but I felt that I have got no right to judge the immorality aspect of sex work. My first question to the audience that have you got any other option for them? And so, and if I don't believe that anyone will opt for sex work if they have got any other option, alternative option, I don't think so. And I'm telling you a little bit of my experience in that. When a very well-known social activist was the chair in National Commission for Women, I was one of the advisors, and then she over enthusiastically she announced that if somebody wants to leave sex work, she'll be uh, giving them 3,000 rupees. She'll be arranging for them 3,000 rupees per month and one room set for them under Indira Awas Yojana. So 10,000 women sent their name and we could do nothing. So, do I have any right to say that go hungry, die, but don't do this illegal, unethical, immoral thing? No, I don't have any right to say that. And I believe that if decriminalization of sex work is done, then there will be some benefit for us also, those who go and rescue the people from different difficult situations, including the brothel.
Sure,
First
sure.
is that if it is decriminalized, then first help will be getting as the activist in the area of antisocial, anti-human human trafficking area. That is that then it will be clearly known that those who are doing it by any condition they are forced to or they have done it, and the underage people, if she is underage, if it is said that she has given the consent, I'll go and rescue her. That's for sure. And if she is a woman, is forced, I'll go and rescue her. If
Sure. Sure.
one person who was a big um, propagator of right for sex work, she asked me one question: where were you when I was 9 years old and I was trafficked from West Bengal to Mumbai and I was caged? And I was 9 years old and I used to be in a cage, and when clients came and used to ask for small girls, I used to be taken out. And one day I was having rice with egg curry, which I really love. In between, uh, uh, client came, and I came out. And after finishing the job, she said, after finishing the job, when I came, somebody already ate my egg curry and rice, and I felt the most. I thought that I'm the most deprived person in this earth. So, and so, if it is decriminalized, then the first option will be, it will be really marked that who is forced, who is underage, and who is not.
Sure, ma'am. Let me
That,
contextualize this slightly for you, because one of the things ma'am obviously works towards is to make sure that underage girls aren't trafficked, and that is a big issue in the world. That underage girls get trafficked, they're forced to become sex workers, and that becomes a challenge when there are a mire of workers, unrecognized workers out there, and then these girls are tucked away and hidden away in these really, really tiny brothels. I've been on a rescue mission with ma'am. I spent maybe months trying to ascertain who the underage sex worker was, and we then with ma'am went out and rescued the girl. But there are a lot of other women out there who want to be sex workers because they don't have a choice to do what they need to do. So I think what ma'am is raising is a very, very good point. She's raised some two or three extremely good points. Ma'am, let me bring in Arpita slightly here. She's obviously gone out as a young documentary filmmaker, and let me ask her, Arpita, what did you see when you went out there? What were your first, kind of understanding of the whole sex trade?
Thank you, Rohit, for joining me in this particular debate. So basically, when I went to the brothels of UP from Varanasi and Hardoi, so when I went there, the thing that I see was the condition. The condition there is so sad and so painful that you cannot even imagine. Because once you go as a filmmaker, you only have to be there for a specific period of time to talk about them. But there are
Tell me that condition. Tell me physically, what did you see? Like, how bad is it? Like, I've been to maybe some, and so
yeah,
I know
I
what you're talking
the
about. But please
brothels,
tell
the
to the others who don't know it.
yeah, the brothels in the room was so small. Means you can say it's like a storeroom. In a normal person like us, we have a storeroom of small square feet, and there are around 2 to 3 people there in that particular brothels, and with the different clients. And there is a partition with just a piece of cloth, or means the condition, the people there who are coming in the brothels, means they are not very, means there are different kinds of person. Those who come, no use of protections, no you they don't have rights. If they go for the rights for the administration, they will not get that thing. Means they are thrown out from the either from the police station, or they will be used again. So the anger they are having now, if you will go there, the anger they are so angry when you go there, that they think that they are also here. They will take the interview and they will just go. And means we have faced that outrage from the people. They were not ready to show their face because they were too afraid that when if they will give their interview, or if they will be in front of the camera, the people behind them will molest them more if they will take the name, or they will say that it's not, they don't want to do this job. I interviewed one of the sex worker. She said that it is a tradition going on. Means her family members used to do, her family member was in sex workers. They they are having kids. Means she is having around 8 kids, and She don't know who is the father of that kid. She said they are the kids, they are the blessing, I have to be with them, I have to take care of them. And I said ki how they are surviving, how your kids are surviving. So she said that the girls are into the sex worker and the boys used to bring client. If they have a son, they bring client, and if they are girls, she used to be the sex worker. Means we cannot explain the pain they are going through. They are angry. Why? And they are angry because we are just listening to them, and we are not in that condition. If we will be there in that condition, I guess we will not be able to survive for a minute. Because doing a sex with the consent and doing the sex without consent, this is the both different things. And means she asked me a question, do you have a brother? I said yes. So she said, I have a daughter, will you marry my daughter to your brother? Will you do that? And I was like numb. Means what? Means why I was numb, I don't know. Yes, I should. Means I'm judging. As a person, we judge. We will not give the house to them for a rent. We will not ask them to. We will not even give them the job. So they are the only option they are left with, the sex workers. So we don't give them any condition to live. What they want, they just want their dignity. Their dignity has been raped a lot. Every day, every second, their dignity is there, and they left with
Well,
no dignity, nothing.
no, I hear you, Arpita. I hear you. Let me bring in Khushbu. Khushbu Jain is a practicing lawyer. Khushbu, can you shed a little more light in terms of, the law itself? What's legal? What's not legal? And why has there been no change? I know we've been screaming for years. With the Roma ma'am, I think over 2 decades now that we've been doing this, we've been asking for more legality around it. Why don't we see change at all in the system?
As rightly started, that what is legal, what is not legal, that ambiguous space. So when we say that, whereas India is concerned, the law is vague when it comes to this industry. I call it industry. It's prevalent industry from ages. The law primary dealing with sex workers is the law which we have is Immoral Traffic Suppression Act of 1956 with lot of amendments thereafter. Now this act says that sex workers, after the amendment, that sex workers are free to practice their profession privately. But the moment when there is a soliciting for the customers in public, that there is a punishment to that, or it's a criminal offense out there. Now, if I look at that how exactly what is permissible, what is not permissible. So yes, I would say that uh, uh, let's say selling your body for a financial gratification is per se is a prostitution, but an organized prostitution such as pimples or prostitution rings, these are all illegal activities per se, clearly been defined that these are not permissible. But prostitution per se as to offering your own body in private for either for a either even if it is for a financial benefits, yes, that's legal in India. There is no punishment for that, and that's the change which we are talking about, which has become. Prostitution was not legal; it became legal. I take prostitution as an unreal reality. It exists. How much we close our eyes, how much we don't recognize, but yes, it's an existence part of it. Now, if I talk about any other law, yes, any forceful intercourse per se is illegal when it comes to what is the punishable offense, whereas your IPC is concerned. But with your own permission, it's absolutely perfectly fine. But the issue again goes on to the part that if you look at maximum number of surveys done, it's very clear, or it is evident there, that it's sex workers enters into the industry when they are less than 18 years old. So that's not the age where you give permission, or it's a consensual part of it. Once you enter the business, you're practically not at the age of it. So the part comes as to, I would digress more on the part of trafficking than on prostitution per se. Prostitution per se is legal, but again, the industry is prevalent over there. Pimping is there, soliciting is there, and the only I think the only issue that comes as to the ambiguous space or the vague space, whereas law is concerned as to what is legal, what is not legal, and how it has to be regulated. So I would say that a little more regulation point of view should come, whereas your prostitution industry is concerned. regulation not to legalize it, but at least decriminalize it.
Important one at that. Ma'am, I think we have to take these steps forward. And I think from people such as yourself who handle the law and the challenges with it, I think we have to get together and form committees and make sure that we establish enough, voice to be able to get these changes made in place so that people can exist, people can run, the work that they do. And it's not looked down upon in society. Obviously, it's going to take time. I'm going to say bye bye to Arpita. We're going to be joined by another guest, Vasundhara. She joins us, Vasundhara Pandey, shortly. She's going to talk about health. But let me go back to Roma ma'am. Roma ma'am, explain to me as we move forward, and you've seen this for over 4 decades almost. I know you've been doing a tremendous amount of work. Have you seen any tangible change on the ground? Because I've been seeing it for 2 decades. I have not seen anything change. Whether it was a brothel in Pune, or Calcutta, or Delhi, they exist the same way. The trade may have become larger, it may have become more organized. There are phone networks, there are rings, there are WhatsApp groups. There has been no change in the law, and the sex work continues to expand and only exists in these larger rings, and tremendously has a lot of drugs involved because of the illegality, and then it functions along with police officers and groups of people. So explain to me, have you seen a downturn in sex work to start with? And two, where is the way forward? How somebody like you who spent her whole life doing this, what is the change you would like to see?
First, I must, answer you by saying that no, the situation in the brothels is not at all changed. But one thing is changed, the modus operandi. Because it used to be brothel based only earlier, and we had to face a lot of resistance when we used to go for the trafficked children rescue operations, recovery operations. Now it is more, cybercrime is there, and you, um, in your own home, you see, I have got a big home, I've got a big family, and I have seen that from my house itself, my home itself, where the rescued children are there, they are getting a smartphone, and they're, if they want to go uh, again for this kind of work, they can go, and now they are going also. So yes, situation has changed. It is more closed door now. It is no more, not very much is a brothel based now. So it is more difficult. If criminalization of sex work is done, then first point is that it will be clearly seen that who are forced, who are trafficked, who are not, who have opted for themselves. Second point, that way forward, if we think about that, we have to see that the society, they're just giving some kind of stigma for the sex work. If it is decriminalized, then they won't be having that from the judges, from the podium. They are declaring that it is unethical, it is illegal. They will be having more responsibility to see that those who have got no option, what options we are looking for, these kind of people, these girls and women, those who have got no other option but doing it. There is a second benefit we are, as the anti-trafficking activist, will be having, because I have seen that so many people, so many women there, they're being harassed, because they're already always there in threat that there will be another rescue operation, and all of us will be dragged to the police station, and then we will be paying more. And look, all of us know that the law enforcement is many a times they're hand in gloves with the brothel owner and the police,
Enforcement is
and
most of
so
the time Hand in glove, ma'am. You're
Yes.
absolutely right. Most of the time, law enforcement is hand in glove, where we not don't want to take away from the idea that they do come and help us when we go for rescuing traffic girls. But that said,
Yes.
it is certainly a heavy
And
area of
that,
corruption.
yes. Uh, I'm not saying that all the police people, they are corrupt. I have seen in my life, I know there are extremely honest police officials also. But
Absolutely,
I have
absolutely,
seen,
ma'am. We've
I
gone
have
together.
seen
We've seen
the
that.
most corrupt people. Yes, yes, most
Yes,
corrupt people also there. And the
right.
third benefit we will be having if decriminalization is done, the third benefit will be this is their livelihood option. I have no right to say that you don't do it. So if it is decriminalized, then it will be in the system that who all are absolutely in an impossible situation to survive, they are doing it. And uh, but one thing I must tell you that now it will be in a really uh, sex work is there. Sex work is there for you know for so long, and it is not going to go in one night, or no law can prevent it. But at the
Ma'am,
same
ma'am,
time,
you're so
it
right.
will
You've
take.
raised a very important situation here, ma'am. I'm going to talk a bit.
Yes.
Vasundhara Pandey has joined us. She works on
Yeah.
menstrual health and she concentrates on sex workers as well. So I want to let Vasundhara weigh in. Vasundhara, in your work of dealing with and working with sex workers, menstrual health becomes a very, very important thing. And not just their menstrual health, their sexual health is an area of our a prime study. We've seen a lot of sex workers suffer because customers sometimes don't want to use protection. There are issues around that. They have no rights on their bodies. There are more powerful people who may land up in a brothel, beat them up, and do whatever they want. So explain to us, in your work working with sex workers, what have you seen, and give us your opening statement in terms of what you see there.
Hi, Rohit. Thank you for calling me here and for giving me the platform to share my work. I'm a
Yeah.
menstrual health educator, and having worked in this space since like 4.5 years now, working with sex worker, I mean, I'm as it is working, talking about periods and sex. These two words are the most, taboo topics in our society, and
Vasundhara,
they're
can you speak up a bit because your audio is not that clear? Can you speak up a bit? Come closer slightly. Yeah, if you come closer and speak up a bit, you'll be fine. Yes, go ahead.
yeah.
A bit, yes, sure, a bit better.
All right. I don't know what's with the audio, but yeah, I was saying that I'm talking about periods, and then at the opposite, I'm talking to sex workers. Periods and sex, these are two things that very taboo topic, and they're not something that people would anyway open about. They are like always these topics are always under the behind the doors, like so you are these are two taboo topics, stigmatized topics put together. So it's anyway very difficult for them to open to me to talk about sex. But having said that, when they have opened about it, the first thing that they've told me is it's periods means income loss, because sex and while they're menstruating they cannot go for that. I mean, that means they're on a chutti is what they say, you know that means job, income loss for them. And they have been, some of them have told me that there are men who want to have sex with them while they're menstruating, and that is violence for them, because they're not comfortable. Now, who is going to talk about their comfort level? Who's going to talk about whether they're comfortable, whether doing something or not? Because they do not seem to have an identity. And you know why that is there? Because we have placed the izzat and the entire, we have placed the izzat of a woman in her vagina. And that's the reason I think why it's there. It's there is so much of stigma around it, whether it's menstrual blood, whether it's menstruation, whether it's sexual health. Why is it so why are these topics which are so which this is biology, to for God's sake. So but why is it a stigma? Why is it a taboo in the first place?
No, I am
So
with you.
yeah, I mean
Vasudha, what
that
you're
is my
making is a
first
good
question.
point.
Why have we
What you're
placed the
making
izzat
is,
of a woman in her vagina, in a reproductive organ? I mean, why can't we be normal around it? You know,
it is a very
we
important point,
ourselves
Vasundhara.
are not very
Vasundhara,
comfortable when we talk about these things. You know, when I
Vas-
talk to my friends about it, I cannot say for sure that they are very aware of these topics or the nuances of these things. I mean, when we talk about sex, sexual health, sex workers, I don't know anyone. This is a topic that everyone would like to talk about. So
sure, sure,
whenever there is no discussion, or whenever something is done behind the doors, there are always questions that will always crop up, and I do not
sure,
think that women will find answers to it
sure.
ever, because we
Okay,
don't want to talk about it. How are we going to
absolutely,
get an
Vasundhara,
answer?
with
How
you,
are we going to
with
know
you.
about the solutions to the problems that they have when we are not going to talk about it? So I think
Sure,
conversations around these topics are the first thing. Normalizing it is the first thing that we should do in this in
sure.
in this field, or in when we talk about these things. So why can't we just
Let me
normalize
let me bring
it?
in
Why
Miss
can't we
Jain.
understand that this is
Uh,
biology? And why
Khushbu,
can't we
if you,
recognize the rights of these women who are as normal, who are doing their job? you know and
yes,
I think that is
Vasundhara,
all because
Vasundhara,
the izzat of
let
a
me
woman,
bring in,
is the way we see a woman, the way, no matter how much a woman brings to the table or brings to the house, she's always, her identity will always be how good is she a mother, how good is she a sister, how good is she, has been a wife she is. But we are never going to talk about what she has achieved in her life.
I'm with
I
you.
mean,
Khushbu,
if my
Khushbu,
friend has to talk
Vasundhara,
about her mother, she'll
Vasundhara,
talk about how
I
good
think
her
Vasundhara
laddus are.
can't
She
hear
would
our
never say
audio.
what great work she is doing. No. So I
I
mean, we
think
have to
I think there is
really,
an audio issue there.
change our views. As in, how are we talking about women? How are we ever going to normalize talking about sex workers and their issues when we are not normalized, when we are not in a
Uh,
normal sense with respect
Khush-
to other women who are doing other jobs.
Khushbu, can you weigh in terms of what are the changes you see first that we need to make in changing the law around things? Where would you make the first few changes?
Uh, Actually, very good question. Again, I would say that when we have, I'm not saying that we need to legalize it, but yes, there is a dire need of regulating it on the aspect that yes, it does exist. How it will help you out? Yes, it will protect minors. When I talk about, trafficking, uh, you know the industry, you have a regulation, you know the the involvement of people. So then comes easier to entry barrier. You understand that okay, who are not or who are the immoral trafficking. There would be a better advantage for the law enforcement. At the same time, it will help in protecting entry of minors. At the same time, when we talk about yes, I think a lot has already been done in that area, but there's a lot that need to be done with regard to the regular medical checkups, with regard to the spread of STDs,
Become,
with
yeah.
regard to other health. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Khushbu.
Yes,
Absolutely.
now.
Yeah. So I start with protecting minors, immoral trafficking, entry barrier. It will create. Will have law enforcement to have a better tab over, at the entry part of it, and also at the same time, regular medical checkups and other required arrangements which need to be there with regard to the health benefits, with regard to the, there is. A removal of pimps and middlemen, which we talk about, that would also be in a way, that will lead to that extent that we remove that. Because I think even if existence of the prostitution, the major issue is not criminalizing or decriminalizing or legalizing it, but the existence of and middlemen and the impact that had on the sex workers. At the same time, elimination of forced prostitution is what I'm talking. It will help to that part of it. At the same time, I mean, I would say that yes, there's no downside to it because it exists. It's an unreal reality. So why not have a regulation in place, keeping in mind these areas? I think that should be the first
No,
to start
absolutely.
with.
Absolutely. So I'm going to kind of lay it out again what Khushbu has talked about. Legalization in terms of making sure there is regulation around it. Rights of women, which means women should not be questioned for having done any sex work. uh, People who absolutely indulge in it will have to be responsible around it, which means women must have rights around it, on how they operate, what are their physical rights, what if there is violence against them, they should be able to go and complain, and it should be taken into cognizance. Could it be, fishery, there could be a process around it, there could be committees around it. Countries like Thailand, Holland, if you see the brothels around those countries, there is a system around it. There is a system there that functions. You can live in this false world. Let's say it's illegal in this country, but everything still exists. There are 1.2 million sex workers in India. They all have work. There is a reason that they exist. It's not as if there are no men going to them. There are obviously, on an average, anywhere between 15 and 20 men going to each of those, which means there are over 10 million men who go to sex workers each day. So that has to be remembered, and we can't forget it. Roma, ma'am, how about a closing statement from you in terms of where do you see the first changes coming? Who's going to make that change?
I think that all of us should join hands to say that the sex workers, those who are practicing, they have got every right, like any other citizen of India, to live in dignity. And now they are doing the work. Sometimes they are deprived because the client, knowing very well that she can't go to the police station or to complain anywhere, so they are being deprived there also. So, and one person told me in the health ministry, and they are taking the mobile medical van, and she said that no, we don't go up, because if I go there, people may suspect that I have got something to do with them. So we sit, and these girls, they don't come down for the stigmatization that they may be HIV positive. So this thing will be improved, their health services, their dignity in life, the quality of life will be good. And being a anti human trafficking activist for so long, and I'll be having a better time to not harassing the others, those who are doing the practice by their own choice or any compulsion, and their adult, and the children will be safer, whatever Khushbu right now she mentioned. And I think that legalization or not legalization is not the issue. It is decriminalization of sex work. Those who are doing it
Very
by
important.
compulsion, by anything.
Very important
And
point,
I
ma'am.
think these are the points.
Very
Yes.
important point. So I think everybody is resoundingly making that, call is decriminalization of it. You may not legalize it, and you may not have a process around it, but let's start with decriminalization of sex work. Vasundhara, closing statement from you. What is the first thing you'd like to see for specifically when it comes to the health and the menstrual health of the women who are out there, who are having to, go through all the stigmatization?
Please identify women as women for what they are, not for the work. Don't associate them with their identity with society.
Good.
Stop. Please identify them for who they are. And secondly, please
Great.
organize topics like periods and sex. I mean, why these are topics which are very, very necessary for all of us to understand, to not, have, sex, to actually improve the sexual and reproductive health of women, and to reduce the number of STDs. Because so if we start having conversations, start normalizing, so that there's a solution. Let's work towards the solution. Can we, so
Great.
that we, yeah, that's all I
Yeah,
would like to say.
no, absolutely. Absolutely. So, in our conclusive thoughts around this topic of the plight of sex workers, I think the challenges are huge. If you look at the quality of their life, you look at the quality of where they exist, you look at the corruption that exists around the areas where sex work is carried out, you see the people, the men involved around the whole criminal racket around these areas. All of that needs to vanish, and that can only vanish when we decriminalize it. It's not that difficult. It's not going to take some massive amount of intelligence. Just being a basic politician, you can possibly do it if you want it. But if you want this to go on and you're getting your kickbacks from your policemen, then you possibly are not going to do it. So if you really are serious about bringing about change in India, and you talk about change in India, then get on with your work and get this done. Thank you, all of you, for joining me, Roma ma'am, Ms. Jain, Vasundhara. I think these are very, very important things. And thank you, Arpita. She's gone away, but I commend her also. She's very young. She's come out and spoken about it. Thank you for joining us for It Matters on Democracy News Live. These are things that matter in our society, and we'll want to continue covering it. Good night and good luck.